Alright guys, welcome back. So in this video we are diving into one of the most important features of Python, that is modules and package. So we'll understand how to organize and reuse your code and to create a new module. Especially these are helpful when you are working on a large project. So we learn on what are modules and packages.py. We'll see how to import built-in modules, create our own modules, install them, and use as external packages. And we'll explore some of the Python most useful libraries. All right. So let's see how we can import a module. So importing a modules in Python are simply Python files that contain function, classes, or variables that you can reuse across your code or across your project. All right. So Python comes with many built-in modules, and if you have to create one, you can create one for yourself as well. We'll see that. But let's try importing a basic module. So let's say there is a module called math, right? So if you have to import this module, you'll use the keyword import and you'll say math, all right? And if you have to use the say math.py, py is another function that module math has. Okay, so to use that, or you have to call that value. How do you call that? So I'll just print it right now, print, and I'll say math dot py. And if I run this, I'll say right click, run this. So it gives me the value of pi. Similarly, math has lot of functions inside it. I'll show you how you can go and check what other functions or what other operations you can perform on math libraries. So first one we'll say is square root. Again, we'll say print math dot. So if you just give a dot reference, you'll see a lot of functions here. So all of these are defined under your math module. You can use them. Okay. So you have floor, sum, factorial, is infinite, is not a number, is square root. All right. You can use any of those based on your uses. Right now, I want to do a square root operation. So I'll say sqrt. Okay. And I'll give 25 here. And let's run this. What would I get? I would get the square root of 25, which is 5. All right. Similarly, you have other module as well, that is random. Import, we'll say random. And there is another way to do it as a different name, rnd. I don't want to use the same name, I'll just say as rnd. So what this does, it gives you the flexibility to rename your library. So say the module name is very vast, a big name. So I just want to name it as a variable. I can also name it as r. There's no boundation to it. All right. So right now I'll just say rnd, and I'll say print rnd dot random. Okay. What it will do, it will give you a random number here. Okay. But what if you are specifying a list? Say I want a random number between 1 to 10. Okay. And then when I run it, okay. So rand will not do this. This was my bad. There's another function to it, print random int. Okay. So it will generate random int from rnd int from 1 to 10. Now let's run this. So it gives me 2. So every time I rerun it, it will give me a new value. If you see, last time it was 2, this time it is 8. Okay, if I rerun it, again it is 9. So it will generate a random integer within your boundary. Within whatever number you have specified, it will generate an integer inside it. Okay. So there are other functions as well inside these modules. You can just use the dot reference and browse through whichever you want to use. You can use it in your code. So this is one way how you can deal with it. And let's talk about if you want to use your own user defined module, if you want to create your own module. Okay, so let's create a new Python file. We will name it as utils. Okay, we'll say utils.py. What we are going to write here is, let me close the other files. What we are going to write here is a small hello world. Okay, we'll just write a method greet, or we'll say define greet, and it takes a name as a parameter, and it will say print hello and name. All right. So this is one function which is defined inside your utils. You have defined utils as a module. Okay. When you have your own module there and you want to reuse it, how would you do that? Let's say user defined module, and to call that module, you will first import, and you will import what? You will import the file name that you have given. So I named it as utils, right? If you see here, it is utils. So I'll import it as import utils, right? And I don't want to specify .py because that is understood by Python that it is expecting a Python file to be imported. Now inside this, what I want to do, I want to call the function, the greet function. So what I'll write, I'll say print, and I'll say utils dot greet, and it is expecting a name here. I'll say sudo, right? Now if I run this, what happens? It will print me hello sudo. So this is returning a variable none as well. The reason is I don't want to print it here. I just want to have return statement here. Okay. I'll say return, and we'll say hello and name. This should be fine now. So let's run the same code again. So it says hello sudo. Fine. Now another modulation to it. So by importing the utils module, you can use the greet function anywhere in your project, right? One thing to remember is there is underscore underscore name variable. When you run the file directly, Python sets the underscore underscore name to underscore underscore main. It is kind of an information to yourself saying that we have not imported the module, it is being run from my module itself. So to catch that or to track that it is being run from this particular module, there is another way, or you have to define a keyword here saying if underscore underscore name is equals to underscore underscore main, then you'll send you'll say print this is not an import statement. So what happens now if you are running this from here? So you are getting hello sudo. While when you run it from here, let's run this file first, run util. So what it says, this is not an import statement. Okay, so this will not allow you to directly run it, but you can run it. There's no hard and stop rule that you cannot run it. So if you want to run it, you'll just have to call the function. You'll say greet, and you'll give a name here. And once you run this, oh sorry, I haven't printed it, this file, and run this. So it says this is not an import statement, but it will also run the function here. Okay. So this statement, if name is underscore underscore main, this is useful to track whether it is being executed while it is imported, or whether the file itself is executed rather than the import. Okay. So this is how you create your own user defined module in Python. All right. Now there is another concept to it which is called as package. What is package? Package is nothing but it's a collection of module, and your package always has your init.py file. So let's say I want to create a package. So in my Python basics, I do go here, right click, create a new Python package, and I'll name this as calculator. Okay. Now by default, once this is created, the init.py file is created inside it. All right. Now inside my calculator, I want to have a new package where I'll say, let's say math operations. Okay. Now math operations will also have an init.py file inside it. Now in my math operation, I am going to create a new module. So I'll say new Python file, and I'll name this as calculator. Right. Inside this, what I'll do, I'll just define some basic functions. I'll say define add, and I'll say a comma b, define add a comma b, and I'll say return a plus b. So define subtract a comma b and return ab. Now to use this again, how do you import it? So again, we'll go to our file. Where is our module file? So we'll go to our modules and packages. From here, we'll say, if you observe here, my calculator file is inside my calculator package. Inside that, there is math operations. All right. So how will you import this? From calculator dot math operations, import add, because I just want to perform an add operation. And we'll say print add 1 and 2. Okay, so we have imported the add. Add shows an error here. So what is the path? We'll say calculator math operations and okay. So we'll have to give another here. We'll say dot calculator. All right, and let's run this. If you see, we are getting the sum of these two numbers. All right. So how is this useful? So as and when your library increases or your reusable code increases, you can modularize it and save it as different packages. Okay. So all related code to one particular module can be kept inside one package, and you can have several packages, and based on whichever is needed, you can import. All right. Now there are other things as well. Let's say um, one you want to install something in your Python. Okay, so how would you install a new library or a new utility in your Python? Let's say I don't have Selenium here, okay, right now. So let's go to our, so there is a command which we can type. We can type as pip and we'll say list. Okay, so this will list out all the packages that is installed in my machine, or right now I'm using a virtual environment here. So in my virtual environment, what are the packages installed for me? So these are the packages which are already installed, right? So if you want to install something new or some new library that you want to use, so right now if I go here and if I try to import Selenium, import Selenium, so it gives me an error, right? Now let's try and install Selenium here. How would you do that? So that's a keyword. Just say install and Selenium. Hit enter. So, okay, my bad. So it should start with pip install Selenium. All right. So it will go search its own repository and it will download Selenium for you. Okay. Now, how do you check whether whatever you were trying to download is installed in your system or not? So right now it's still doing something, right? So let's say now I want to import Selenium. Now it doesn't give me any error. Again, if you want to check the list of files that you have, you'll just say pip list. Okay, and it will give you a list of all of the libraries that is installed. So as soon as I installed Selenium, these are the packages which are installed. Okay, say you are working on a bigger project where you have multiple systems, or say multiple QA engineers or developers working on certain code, and all of you are working on a different machine, in a remote machine, and you have different versions of packages installed in your system. That would lead to an error scenario, right? Because for some the packages would be upgraded, for some the packages won't be upgraded, right? So there is a way to manage it. So as soon as you have the list of library or the list of packages that you are going to use, you are going to finalize the version of each of those and push it to a file saying this is the basic requirement that you need to have or you need to set up in your system to work with this project. As a lead or as an architect, you are going to finalize that this is the version that we are going to use, and you all should have the same version. So to manage that or to maintain that, you need to create a file with all the dependencies. So how would you do that? I have this framework and this is all that I want for now. Yeah, I don't want any other libraries to be installed. So this should be the base requirement to make this project run. How will I push it to a file? So for that, you'll say pip the freeze it to a file named requirements.txt. Okay. Now, as soon as I run this, there is a file created inside my base folder, the project folder. So this was my project folder. Inside this, if you see, there is requirement.txt. Now this requirement.txt will have all the packages along with their version that you need to have in your system to make this project run. So as soon as you import this project, what you are going to do, you are going to say pip install -r requirements.txt. Okay. Now, for now, I have all of the library installed with me. So it says requirement already satisfied. So if say there was some library that was missing, it would directly install it for me. Moving on. So we have different libraries or shared libraries that Python have. We'll talk about a few of them. So let's start with the first one. We had already seen math. We had already seen random. Let's not have this line here. Okay. There is another thing called OS. Okay. So to get the path of the current working directory, so you can import OS module. So you'll say import OS print os dot cwd. What is this cwd? Current working directory. And there is another thing called print os dot list directory. So list directory will list all the files and their directories, right? So let's run this. So if you see, so it will list all the files that you have, right? And current working directory will list out the current working directory that you have. Say py plus cell we had here, right? And we are working inside Python basics. So this file is inside Python basics. So it has listed that path and all the files that are involved here. Okay. Now, next thing that you can encounter is date and time, right? So there is another import or there is another module for it that Python has. It is called date time. Okay, import date time. Now we'll say now is equals to date time dot now. So this will give you the current date time. So let's try and print it. Print now. Let's run this. Let me comment the previous one. So it gives you the current date and the time. In here, if you want to say change the date or do some modification in your date time, okay. So how are you going to do? Say you want to increase the day to tomorrow. Okay. Now after printing now, I'll say tomorrow is equals to date time, or not just today, I'll just say now plus date time dot time delta days equals 1. Okay. And I'll say print tomorrow. Now if I run this, what do I get? The first one gives me today's date, the next one gives me tomorrow's date. Okay. So similarly, you can play around, like you can change the year, month, time as well. All right, then you also have JSON here. So while we are working with SOAP or while we are working with REST or other API testing software, we'll touch base on the JSON as well because it's very widely used. So importing that is also simple. You will just say import JSON, and we'll create a dictionary for that. So we'll say data is equals to name colon sudo location is India, and what I want to do, I'll try to create a JSON out of it. Okay. So this is a dictionary data type, right? But from here, I'll try to, okay, not dictionary because I haven't, it's a dictionary data type with curly bracket. Now what I want to do is, we'll say JSON data is equals to JSON.dumps data. So this will create a JSON data type. Now let's print JSON data and also print the type of JSON data. Okay. Now similarly, again, I want to parse it back to a dictionary. So how will I do that? We'll say parsed data is equals to JSON.load JSON data, and we'll print the data and we'll print the type of it. Okay. Let's comment the previous one and run this. So if you see the first one, so by default I had created a dictionary here, but since it became JSON, it became a string value. Okay, it became of type string. Now, next time I again converted it back to from JSON to a dictionary format using the load method. So now it is again of type dictionary. Okay. So we'll talk more on this when we are working with request response. And apart from this, you will have a lot of other powerful packages, which some of them are again requests is another library. Then NumPy is also one powerful library. It helps you to do numerical computation, and whenever you want to handle large data, remember NumPy is also a good library to work with when you have large arrays or large data you have to handle. Also, you have pandas. They are also very powerful when you are doing data analysis or data manipulation. They have very single one line command to open an Excel file, do some manipulation, close the file. Okay. And if you are working on say web scraping, so there is a tool or library called Beautiful Soup 4. So that is also very powerful module. But right now let's focus on NumPy, pandas and request, because we are going to use this while we are working on our framework and when we are reading from Excel. Okay. So this is the I think these are the ones that we need to know for now. And if there are anything else, we'll take it on the go. Okay. And let's say that you have imported a module and you have done some changes. You want to re-import the module. Okay. So Python won't re-import it automatically. Okay. You have to give the command to re-import the library. Say you imported a library, import space import library, and you say import say utils. Okay, which I had. Now when you want to re-import, you just have to say import library dot reload and utils. So this will reset the import and it will again re-import a fresh util library for you. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk on modules and packages. So we have covered we have covered to import modules, create your own, install external packages using pip, and explore some powerful Python built-in libraries. For the next one, I'm going to talk about regular expression, and there are few small topics that I want to cover on the Python basics. So we'll take that in the next one. Right. So thanks for joining, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.